Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for joining today. My name's Dave. I'm an instructor with the PURE Management Alliance on the PURE Project Manager Credential. And we're here today to do another Ask Me Anything session with another couple of instructors from the course, cover some of your questions and get some information out of the guys. Before we kick off, let's do some quick introductions for the rest of the panel. You're about to meet a couple of brilliant fellow instructors from the PURE course who bring a lot of experience, a lot of skills, and a lot of personality. So, Ben, how about we come to you first? Why don't you say hello?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben. I'm an instructor here with PURE Project Manager. I'm also a project leadership success coach, helping more project managers be able to go and build up their confidence and their strategic thinking so that they can be better project leaders. And I work with a ton of different project management clients, as well as also offering my fractional project management consulting, and just really trying to go and help everyone be just that little bit better, and hopefully helping them develop their own superpowers inside of project management and project leadership.
Nice. Really excited to have you on with us, Ben. Thanks for coming along. And Jeremiah, how about I come to you next, if that's okay?
Heck yeah. Hi, my name is Jeremiah Hammond. I'm an instructor for the PURE Project Manager. I have a course in there called High Voltage Project Management, which is really teaching us project managers how to lead ourselves before we lead others. Because if we don't possess it, we can't give it. If you don't have a dollar, you can't give a dollar. So I like to really work with help project managers work on their emotional intelligence so they can be high voltage leaders that know how to lead and get results. And you can find me on LinkedIn, and let's rock and roll.
Great. Okay, so before we get to the questions, for anyone new to PURE, PURE is a new credential created by a group of us, Ben, Jeremiah, myself, and around 20 other project professionals, in the thick of it every day, navigating different projects, different delivery initiatives, and delivering value every single week. The credential is made up of 29 bite-sized practical courses. All of these are focused on things that will make a difference in your role and hopefully help to expand your skills and experience. The full program is $399, which breaks down to about $14 per course, including all the learning content, all the PDUs for any existing certs that you're maintaining, and your final exam. We've designed it to be accessible, flexible, and above all, useful and practical. So if you're starting out in your project management journey, if you're experienced and looking for something new, PURE is well worth checking out. So let's get to some of the questions, and hopefully we can give you a bit more information on what it's all about. So we'll bounce back and forward. I'll start off with the first question, which is, how do you get certified, and what does the assessment process look like in PURE? Jeremiah, how about I come to you first?
Well, this is a credential, and you have to go through each one of the courses, which is really cool. So I always tell people, when you get in there, you got to plan it, because you've got a lot of courses, a lot of hours in here to get through, 60 plus hours. And so the process is really, you got to come in, you got to understand, start from the top, find the best course you want, go through it. Now you have tests that you have to take at the end of each course. And then there's one big, test at the very end to make sure that you really got everything, and then you get your credential. So I always recommend, though, when you go in, plan it, ingrain a little bit, use this stuff because it's so powerful. What you can do, figure out a course, implement it into your daily life, answer your questions, come back in and keep moving. It's a great course. Lots
of good tips. Ben, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just what Jeremiah said is, think about how you can go and apply it. There's exercises in there where there might be thought experiments where you might be able to go and actually see how you implement it into your project, because as much as there is knowledge inside of the course as well, where you're really going to see value is actually being able to build it into your experience.
Realistic expectations.
Yeah.
There's something in that title, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Question 2, Ben, I'll come to you first on this one. How does PURE prepare project leaders for working in increasingly cross-functional and hybrid teams?
Well, I think with the PURE Project Manager and how it helps the PMs be able to understand how they use these skills is that these aren't specific to any specific industry, right? They are not specific to any specific department inside of a company. And so it's really up to you to be able to develop that large utility belt, and then understanding the situations that you can go and use them from. So even for me, my experience is a generalist PM. I don't have any specific niche of a industry or even types of projects, right? They've all been ranged. And what's allowed me to be successful is seeing how do we apply these things in the way that they work. It doesn't have to be methodical. And where the PURE Project Manager program is really great is it gives you this large swath of different tools that you can go and use. And you don't have to use all of them, but they can definitely be helpful in those difficult situations where you're just trying to find that situation, just that solution for that one situation you're trying to solve for.
Nice. Thanks, Ben. Jeremiah, how does PURE prepare project leaders for working in increasingly cross-functional and hybrid teams?
Here's my take on all of project management and the concepts. You can have guesswork, you can have hard work, you can have frameworks. And the thing that a lot of us that end up doing in our careers is we get into a room and we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? What's going on? And when you start understanding the frameworks that you can leverage, this is why we always tell people, you got to get the reps, get in there, learn it, implement it right away. Don't just consume, because information is useless if you just have it up here. Got to do something with it. So you got to get in and be able to utilize this stuff. And once you have it, you'll start figuring out that there's so much good content in here from so many experts in the field that you're going to be able to take those and implement them in real time in any situation, but just like any toolbox, right? Any mechanic out there, they have all the tools in their toolbox. You need to know which one you need to use at certain times. By being able to leverage a course that has this much information, this much knowledge, right? There's knowledge and tools and tactics in here. Take each piece, implement it as you go, and you'll start noticing, hey, what situation can I use this in? And you're going to start seeing how it goes across all industries, across anything that you're doing in project management. It's brilliant stuff.
No, it's really nice. Okay, let's skip forward to question 3. So you touched on frameworks there, Jeremiah, and this is a bit of a tease at the next question. So in a world full of frameworks and approaches, how do you decide when to stick with a plan and when to pivot away?
This is one of the core things, like any project manager that's got, a lot of experience. When things are not going right, the worst thing that we want to do is keep doing what we've always done. You're going to get what you always get. So I always like to use, there's always different methodologies and models and frameworks that we can leverage. But I always like to look at things when things are getting a bit chaotic. That usually means action. You got to do something different. You got to set up your projects right with the right information. You got to make sure that you understand the difference between certainty and uncertainty, predictive, agile, hybrid. And when things start going a little bit different than you thought, you might ask yourself a quick question. Do I have the right development approach? Am I using the right tools right now? And if you're not, you can't keep doing what you've always done, or you're going to get the same result or worse. Bad news doesn't get better over time. So you got to pivot. And that's why you need these tools, because they're going to help you be able to reach in and recall things and make those decisions, which is why emotional intelligence is so important. That's one of the things I train in the course, because you have to be able to understand how to regulate yourself. So then you can regulate things around you, and then you can communicate effectively so you can help influence better outcomes with your team.
Really good tips, really good guidance. Ben, I'll come to you with the same question. So in a world full of frameworks, how do you decide when to stick with what you're doing and when to pivot away?
Yeah, I think part of it is also understanding the data involved with how things are going. How do you know things are going well, and when do you pivot? Sometimes that feels like it's a gut call, right? Of I don't feel like it's going well, but what is that data feeding into it? And part of it is going to be making sure that you're going to action, but also make sure that you're slowing down enough to be able to consider what is going on. Is it going in the right direction? Is it moving towards where we want to go? And ensuring that you get that feedback as well from the team, because sometimes you want to make sure that you're actually solving the right problem and not just one that you think may be a problem. You may be only solving the symptom. And that's where, for me, in terms of creative problem solving, is how do you take that larger holistic view to actually make sure you're progressing in the right way forward?
Yeah, really good ideas, really good tips. I'm quite well connected in with the Agile and the Scrum communities, especially on LinkedIn. And Scrum is badged as a framework. And the way I always think of frameworks is this is a roadmap. It doesn't necessarily tell you what the terrain's going to be like.
Nope.
So you might go in with a framework in mind and think, we're going to apply this, and I expect to get these kind of results. It's important to go back and assess, is the roadmap matching the terrain, or the expecteds matching the actuals? And the key thing I try and talk delivery folks and project managers through is don't take it personally if the reality doesn't match up with your plan. You've got to respond to that reality, not try and force your plan into reality. Does that make sense? Does that line up with your guys' experience?
Yeah, I call that the happiness formula. When your expectations and reality are further away, people usually get generally unhappy. So we're always trying to bring expectations and reality closer together. And so when you find them far away, you do leverage your data and always ask that, how do we get back on plan? Whatever that needs to be.
Yeah, great.
And I agree. I mean, part of it is being able to find that right balance of how you're approaching your leadership in delivering, right? There's a certain element of when am I stubborn versus when am I confident? And maybe you need more time, maybe you need more data, right? All of those things need to come together for you to be able to make the right decision.
Yep, I love data. Love it.
Data is great because it just makes the job that much easier, isn't it? You don't need to be so creative and come up with all the ideas. You can just say, this is what the data is telling me. I should respond to this, not what I think is going on.
You know, it's interesting, Dave. I set up an earned value management system for a major corporation, and I went in there. They had to get compliant, and trying to get people to just understand the power of the data was so crazy because they were like, well, what do we do with it? I'm like, it's an early warning indicator. You know, every single thing we do in business comes back in the form of dollars and numbers. Track what matters. And if you do that, you can make those decisions and pivot so quickly. It's one of the most important things we can do is make informed decisions.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, Ben, we're coming back to you with the next question. So what's one common leadership myth that PURE dispels or changes for learners?
What is one leadership myth that PURE dispels? And I think out of all of it is that you don't have to rely on strict methodologies to be able to get things done. It can be a mishmash of different things, whether you look at it as hybrid or agile or waterfall, all of these things where you have to pick a side and you don't, right? You can work inside of that messy middle where part of the project might be a little bit more agile and other pieces fall more into waterfall. And sometimes those debates come in, but there's no one right way to deliver a project. And sometimes it depends on your leadership, your team, the culture that's been built to understand what is actually going to be effective to deliver results. Right. And sometimes that can even surprise you of like, I didn't think this team would be able to do things in a more agile manner, but you're surprised, the team's surprised, and that can actually have an uptake. Whereas even sometimes software teams are like, actually, we need more structure. We need it a little bit more concrete, and you may have to rely on a little bit more of the waterfall techniques to be able to give them that level of certainty so that they have confidence. And sometimes it's a little bit of a balance of how everything comes together. Even the change management and communication, stakeholder engagement side, you may not be able to do that in an agile fashion, right? That may need to be more planned in waterfall, but the team's working in agile. So there's so many different combinations. And that's where, from a PURE perspective, it's giving you a lot of those different tools and perspectives that you can think about how can they best be used for your situation and your context.
Really good. Really good. Thanks, Ben. Jeremiah, what's a common leadership myth that PURE dispels or helps people unlearn?
I actually love everything that Ben said. I think the real big thing that I see with PURE is real world expectations, how to actually implement this in the real world. Whenever we talk about methodologies and we get into, hypothetical and theory, that's exactly what it is, right? It's theory. It's theory until it's applied. And once you have applied it, then you have then you have experience. And so what you're starting with PURE is you're starting from a place of experience with these project managers, and these experts in the field are giving you this information of how to use these tools and tactics right now. Right now, you can take this stuff and use it tomorrow. So it's like, I know there's leadership myth, more theory based. This is how to do this in real time. That's what's awesome about it. By real world experts doing it right now. The stuff that we're giving you, we're using in the game of play right now in the real world in project management. So you're getting real world tactics, which is important.
Yeah, it's really good. I'll just chip in with one idea because I can remember early in my project managing career, a lot of senior project managers I work with, I just thought they just seem to know what to do all the time. They seem to have the answers and they know what to do.
Mhm.
And if I just get to their level of experience, I'll know all the answers and I won't need to feel like I'm drowning or making it up as I go. And the more experience I got, the more I found they absolutely didn't have all the answers, but they knew the tools that were on the shelf to help them get the answers. And I think that's a really sort of nice dovetail with what PURE offers you, a lot of strategies, tactics, and ideas for how you can notice a problem. You don't necessarily know the answer yet, but you can start pulling at the thread and figure out where you can get the answer from to this problem.
Mhm. I think one of the worst things in the world that we can do is spend our time learning things and not doing something with it, right? Any of these certifications, you spend 60 hours of your time going through it, and you haven't figured out how to put that in your toolbox so you can recall it at any time. I think that's one of the worst things that we can do as people. And that when we're doing a course like this, like what you just said, Dave, it's like you got to have those tools. You got to know how to use them, because we didn't know all the answers as project managers. We just knew how to find them. We knew how to apply tools that we've learned right now to get a result.
Yeah.
That's a trick. That is a trick. We just gave you the secret to project management, everybody. Go do the thing.
And even it makes me kind of think of two different analogies, I guess, that people can kind of think about this in terms of the PURE Project Manager content, is that you can think of it as food, right? You can keep consuming and consuming and consuming, but in the end, you just kind of get fat, right?
Ooh.
You have to be able to use it. You have to expend that energy. You got to get fit. You got to put in the reps, right? So as much food as you're taking in, as much knowledge as you're taking in, you got to go and exercise it. You got to get out there and actually apply it, right? And even the second analogy here is also around thinking about it like a duck on water, right? Jeremiah, I know you're also a huge fan of Bruce Lee, like myself, right? Be like water, but you also kind of got to be like the duck on the water, where, you know, the senior project manager might look super calm, but they are doing a lot of paddling underneath to be able to move in the direction that they want.
And you know what? I got to add to your Bruce Lee right now. You have
Sure.
to take what is useless, or take what is useful, discard what is useless, and make the essence your own. Boom.
Really good. Really good. I love the water thing because this aligns really closely. As I say, this is where Scrum Masters, I feel, get into a lot of trouble, and occasionally project managers where they stick so rigidly to the framework.
Mm-hmm.
You should consider yourself far more flexible than that and think about the shape of the problem you're trying to solve and fit that. Don't think, I'm going to make Scrum work on this. I'm going to make whatever project management methodology you subscribe to. I'm going to force this to solve this problem. Think about the problem and what's best going to solve it. That may be a framework. More likely, it's probably going to be something custom that you're blending. Which is one of my sort of soapboxes I love to get on the internet. So apologies, thanks for indulging me.
No problem.
That's funny. That's literally how I made my career as a project manager. They used to bring me in to handle the complex problems because they know I would do whatever it took. And even if people were trying to fit themselves in a rigid box, I would find a way to stretch that box and figure out the right thing to do at the right time.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep moving forward. So Ben, I think I'm coming back to you with this one first. So how can PURE help someone stuck in project firefighter mindset shift to a strategic leadership mindset?
I think in terms of being able to go and help other project managers move out of firefighting into strategic pieces is seeing just a little bit more of what's over the hill, right? What's a little bit beyond the fire? What are the things that are actually causing the fire, rather than just tackling the fire at hand? A lot of project managers, what they run into is that people are screaming and they are saying everything's on fire, but then the project manager doesn't know what to be able to do. So they're just attracted to be able to fighting that fire. So what the PURE PM allows you to be able to do, I think, is be able to give you different perspectives, different ways to think about problem solving, as well as data gathering techniques. And even, you know, we have courses on negotiation and EQ and all of these different elements that you can go and use so that you're not fighting just that single fire. You're just putting them all out or finding a completely different path that completely avoids the fire altogether.
That's really good, because you're absolutely right. When everyone's coming to you saying, this is broken, I need it fixed now, it's very easy to go into that sort of fight or flight mode and think, right, let me get on with fixing it then. And instead of taking that step back to think, okay, let's assess this problem, let's get to a root cause, what's the way to go here? No, really good stuff. Jeremiah, I'll come to you with the same question. How can PURE help someone stuck in the firefighter mindset shift to a strategic leadership one instead?
It's all about understanding. I always go back to frameworks and I go back to planning. When, you having a plan, it doesn't mean it has to go perfect. It doesn't have to have everything. But one of the number one reasons why projects fail is because we don't plan. So inside of PURE, they give you tons of cool tips and tactics on how to plan. But we also give you tools and tactics on how to handle people, because people first, and people process platforms and projects, right? So you always got to know how you're going to handle the people. And what happens is we get reactive instead of proactive. So we're reactive in a reactive environment, which is just more fire, throwing gasoline on the fire. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we become proactive in a reactive environment? That's what a plan does for you. So you put together a plan. And if you have a plan and a couple of weeks out what you're doing, depending on, what model you're subscribed to, what happens is when things start getting crazy and people start getting uncertain, they're reacting instead of responding. The plan allows you to respond because it gives you guidelines and frameworks that you can kind of like bounce when you're driving down the road. And we have the medium, the lane assist. So when we're driving along and we hit we come back over. That's all a plan is it's a lane assist to help us that when we start getting off track, we can look down the road a little bit and we can see, well, what do we really need to focus on here? How bad is it? See it for how it is and not worse than it is. And then how bad is it? Look at your data, look at all the things, and you can make quick decisions like that and start really helping people respond instead of react by they know what's coming down the line, casting the vision. And inside of PURE, we give you all of those tools and tactics and frameworks that you can leverage. So if you piece it together well and you understand, self-management, self-awareness, you can then express that throughout your projects and you can be responding more than you are reacting. And that all comes back to having just enough plan that you can cast a vision and keep people focused.
So it's exactly the way I encapsulate metrics as well. I think people can often fall in love with metrics and sort of take them further than what they should be, which is a good indicator or a good signpost that we're heading in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And exactly as you said with the plan there, you just need enough to highlight the next couple of steps. You don't need your metrics to illustrate all the way to the finish line from here, especially when we're on a long-lived project that's months and months long. It's just not sensible to try and apply your metrics or your plan with that type of certainty in mind. Continue to use it as a really good signpost or an indicator, and that can help you then ideate on how you can get from reacting to things that are happening in the moment to getting more early warning signals that you can react to instead, and then proactively try and solve those problems before they develop into issues. Really good stuff. Okay, so next question. Bit of a layup question for you, Jeremiah. I'm hoping this will be a fairly straightforward answer. Is there a specific industry that PURE works best for?
All of them.
Good answer. Ben, do you disagree, I suppose, is the question?
I don't disagree. The answer is yes.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so next question. Does the PURE program can include a capstone or final project? Jeremiah, I'll come to you again because that last one was too easy.
Yeah, it doesn't have a formal capstone, but it does have a full test. You have incremental tests all the way through it that you have to take, and then you have your final exam at the end. Great.
Ben, anything to add on or chip in there?
Yeah, I think overall, there's 100 questions at the end that help draw across all the different courses, all of the different content pieces put together so that you have a holistic understanding of what's been talked about inside of PURE. So by being able to go through that, it at least allows you to say that you have a base understanding of the knowledge presented.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I think you've both teased that this as we've gone through. I talked on another chat, however you want to, you can just rip through this as quickly as you can. I think a good way to think about a capstone or final project is, have you applied everything that we've covered in these lessons? Have you taken a lesson and ran an experiment, or have you ran a trial after it and seen how it could either serve your team, help your team, or it didn't make a difference? That would be a really nice way to sort of maximize the value out of this, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing is if you're managing projects right now and you learn a good negotiation tip, go in there and use it right now. Go try it out. A/B it. So it's perfect. This is good stuff because it really is real world application.
Great. Okay, Ben, I'm coming back to you. Can I use the PURE credential to negotiate a raise or a higher rate?
You absolutely can if you know how to be able to do it. Part of what's in there is also things of creative problem solving, EQ, your negotiation skills, AI, right? Root cause analysis, all of these areas of customer service even, right? And bringing all those elements on. It's not the certification itself that I would say is the credential itself that I'd say is what's going to go and get you that raise, but it's a combination of all of these skills that you can say you are going to apply to your position to allow for more success and more value that you're going to be adding to the organization.
Good ideas. Jeremiah, coming to you with the same question. Can we use the PURE credential to negotiate a raise or higher rate?
I just agree with Ben 100%. It's just in how you apply it. If you don't possess it, you can't give it. So you go in there, find what you love about like the negotiation tips, how you can leverage it, how you can speak to solve their problem. Go in there and you can negotiate anything.
Really good. Really good. Okay, Jeremiah, I'm coming back to you with the next one. Is there an active community or network for PURE certified professionals?
Well, yeah. So you have a community within the course, the platform itself. And then you also have all the instructors and everybody on LinkedIn. There's an awesome community of project managers on LinkedIn that were absolutely love to help and support every single person on their project management journey.
Nice. Ben, same question to you. Is there an active community for PURE certified professionals?
Yes.
Short and sweet. I think the really nice thing for me has been I've been in sort of the Agile and Scrum communities, and even you guys have got other sort of specializations within project management that you lean into as well. And it's been really almost inspiring for me to see so many of you guys doing so many different things. And ultimately, what can I steal that's going to make me a better and more effective project manager in the field is what I've really enjoyed the most. So yeah, totally agree. Getting connected with them on LinkedIn is the way to go.
We like to call it modeling. We don't steal, we model.
Yeah, one of the best books I ever read was Steal Like an Artist. It says, don't be shy about stealing. Everyone does it.
Yep, everyone does.
Okay, so Jeremiah, come back to you. How does the PURE framework prepare me for working alongside AI tools?
Oh yeah, there's definitely courses. I know Josh has got a good course in there on how to utilize AI. And right now, honestly, if you're not getting in front of that, you're behind. So there's definitely a lot of, I don't know how much in there is all AI, but I definitely know that like Josh has got a course. I think there's 2 others. Ben, you might know better than that, but it's definitely in the course.
Great. Okay, Ben, same to you. How does PURE prepare you for the AI revolution that's coming?
I think part of it is understanding, yes, how to go and use it, but then also understanding perspectives of how we can best use it, right? And so one of the things, especially from a risk management perspective, is we have generally had a hard time being able to understand risk or better ways to go and doing things because we don't necessarily have large data sets, right? That we can go and compare and say, hey, these are similar types of projects and these are the similar type of risks that we have. But now we have a whole swath of data that we have access to. And it gives us a better idea of what better questions or prompts can we be providing to AI to provide useful answers to us, right? Now, obviously, there's things you have to be careful of in terms of intellectual property and company privacy, all of those different areas. But you can ask more general pieces to say, hey, you as the AI person or the AI entity, right? Pretend you're the world's best risk manager for this type of project. I'm managing a size of project this size. What are the type of risks that I need to be aware of, right? To get your team, yourself thinking about what do I need to be aware of? What do we need to focus on? And then there's different things within the tools now that you can be able to use to make your project management more efficient, right? But if anything, it just allows you a little bit more expansive thinking, and PURE just gives you the tools to be able to think through that lens.
It's really nice, and I like the direction that things are going, because you're right, prompting was sort of the flavor of the month for the last year or so, it feels like. But that's now even moving into AI-powered application development. And I can see a future where project managers are not only prompting LLMs effectively, they're using those prompts to spin up their own applications that can make their lives easier as well. I think the AI stuff is going to become as prevalent as things like Excel and PowerPoint for us. It'll just be expected that you can do this.
It's already saved me. AI saves me so much time. But I do want to add one thing here, if you don't mind. You know, AI, when we really think about it, a lot of people are worried about how do we apply AI? Is it going to get our jobs? There's really one thing we have to think about when it comes to AI. 30% is us inputting the data, asking the right questions. So you have to have the context and knowledge to be able to do that. 40% is AI doing the heavy lifting for us. It does things, it takes us hours and seconds. But the other 30% to get our 100% is us reviewing it to make sure that the output actually is accurate, because it will spit out some things that are not accurate. So just remember, 60% of it is still on us to make sure that the right data in gives us the right data out. And that's important for people to recognize. I mean, it helps us do the hard stuff, but we still have to have that context. And I think that's what, to echo what Ben was saying, PURE gives you that framework. And so if you understand those concepts, you can ask the right questions, get the right output.
Really good. Really good. It's one thing I like to say, you can ask AI for stuff and it'll give you stuff. Doesn't mean it's going to be good stuff, but you'll get something.
You're right. I've gotten some amazingly wrong stuff from AI.
Okay.
How do we get there?
Good question. Good question. Let's get back on track. So we're coming up on time. Let's go for one more question. And Ben, I'll come to you first if that's okay.
Sure.
What does value mean in the PURE framework, and how do you know when you've delivered it?
That is a tough question of when do you know when you're delivering value? And some of it is going to be perception and some is going to be tangible. So I'd say look at both. What are the metrics that are actually measurable value that you're delivering through the organization? But there's also going to be that intangible value that you have with the relationships that you've built with your sponsors, the executives, with your team, that you also want to kind of keep track of. And that's where, from a PURE PM perspective, is understanding what are those different dimensions that you can tap into. There's the tangible pieces of revenue or earned value, all of those things, but there's also something to be looked at from a relationship perspective of what is that relationship capital that you're having with others? And even if it's with the customers, right? How is that going? That you may not have released the best product out there, but maybe the customers are still clamoring for it and still loving it, right? That has to be measured as well.
Great. Jeremiah, same question to you. What does value mean in the PURE framework, and how do you know when you've delivered it?
I think what Ben said was really well. I mean, the only thing that I would add to anything when it comes to value is just understanding that, the value that we bring as people, is our career currency, that, the experience that we have, the depth and breadth, our character, our substance, the style that we bring. Then you have, like Ben said, the intangible or the tangible value of how are we working on the right thing at the right time to create the output, the outcomes that were intended. And so if you look at the frameworks that are inside PURE, everything's giving you a framework to be able to set yourself up for success, to either create the internal energy to bring the highest value of yourself, being the highest energetic, best version of you, to get the best results. And if you have that kind of energy, everything is state dependent, then you can deliver the right kind of results. And you're going to see that your output of performance is of higher performance, which equals higher value that you're delivering. So all of those frameworks are actually all within the PURE framework. You just got to be able to leverage it. You got to be able to leverage it internally and then express it outward.
Okay, great. And that brings us right up to time. So Ben, Jeremiah, thanks very much for coming along. Thanks for all your knowledge, experience, skills. It's been great chatting to you both. And thanks for talking about your journey through the PURE Project Manager Program. Thanks for everyone for joining us, and stay connected with the PURE Management Alliance channel for more sessions like this one. Thanks, everyone.